Hello, Dr. Cole. My name is Jocelyn Sandoval, and today I will be presenting my capital budgeting project for 1 and 2 Mobile Wash. So, before I discuss the financial analysis, I do want to provide a brief overview of the business and the proposed investment. So, 1 and 2 Mobile Wash is a family owned mobile fleet washing business that is based out of southeastern New Mexico, and currently we specialize in commercial and oil field fleet washing. So, currently we do service two customers, meaning two oil field companies that each have around 30 vehicles that we wash on a scheduled monthly basis. On one weekend, we have one fully operational 5-person work crew with a fully operational unit that services one company that has 30 vehicles, and on the second weekend, they do the same for the other customer. So, the proposed capital investment that I am pitching today is a purchase and outfitting of a second self contained mobile wash unit that would more specifically consist of a Freightliner M2 box truck equipped with a commercial steamer pressure washing system, a $525 gallon water tank, and all of the additional equipment that we need, such as soap, brushes, chemical, etc. So the reason for this investment is we have actually identified and been offered an opportunity to secure an additional recurring fleet contract with a separate oil field company, which we have not worked with previously, that consists of approximately an additional 60 vehicles per month. Currently, our one washing unit that we do have is operating at full capacity with a 5-person work crew. So purchasing a second unit would allow us to accept this new contract while continuing to provide a quality service to all of our customers and also create that additional capacity for future growth as the business continues to expand. So our total investment, just as a reference, that we are asking for is $70,580. So moving forward to the initial capital investments that would be needed for our project. As I mentioned previously, we would need approximately $70,580 in funding in order to be able to move forward. Of that amount, $41,000 goes to the Freightliner M2 box truck, which is pictured here on the slide, which would eliminate the need for us to have to purchase an additional truck and trailer because we would be able to mount everything we need into the box truck. So it's less money that we have to spend and less equipment that we have to buy. Additionally, we would also allocate around $8,500 to a commercial steamer pressure washing system, also pictured. Yeah, $1,100 to a water tank, $2,480 for the plumbing fittings for the steamer. Additionally, the budget also includes fabrication and installation costs to customize the box truck, as we would like to add some modifications, such as adding at least 2 points of entry on each side just to make the workflow a little bit easier and a little bit faster. And we would also like to wrap the vehicle for branding purposes, and for that we allocated $2,000. And we also allocated or included an additional $5,000 in working capital. This working capital will help cover startup operating expenses such as chemicals, fuel, the RO water, because we do have to pay for that, and other expenses before the revenue for the new contract starts to come in, as most companies, from what we have seen and who we have worked with, are currently averaging around a 30 net day period for paying out invoices. So once again, moving forward here, we can see the expected implementation timeline. So ideally, we would like to have from the moment of funding to the moment that it starts working around a 4-week preparation or implementation period. Within week 1 is when we would purchase the box truck, the pressure washer, and any additional equipment. During week 2 is when we would ideally want to be installing the water tank, plumbing, and the hose reels, and any other additional equipment needed. During week 3 is when we would complete any modifications, the vehicle wrap, and when we would hire that additional second 5-person work crew. And during week 4 is when we would begin ideally our new fleet contract. As I said, we would begin servicing immediately after the unit is completed. So now we will move on to the projected cash flows over the next 3 years. So based on the new fleet contract, the project is expected to generate approximately $169,200 in revenue during the first year. These revenue projections are based on that additional 60 vehicles that we would be acquiring. Of those 60 vehicles, 30 are aluminum and dump trucks that we service at $220 each, and 30 vacuum trucks that we service at $250 each. Like I said, totaling the total 60 vehicles. So in order to keep the projections realistic, I did assume both revenue and operating expenses would increase by 3% each year just due to business growth and general inflation. So operating expenses are also listed here on the projected cash flows, and those include contract labor, chemicals, fuel, the RO water, insurance, maintenance, and just any other operating costs that may arise. I also included the straight line depreciation for the equipment for the 3 years and a 21% tax rate assumption just for purposes of the capital budgeting analysis. So after accounting for these expenses, in year 1, the project is expected to generate operating cash flows of approximately $80,900. By year 3, we do expect that to increase to around $85,800. Now, the analysis does include the previously mentioned $5,000 in working capital investment at the beginning of the project, which is assumed to be covered at the end of year 3. The financial projections are based on several key assumptions. First, I did assume that we would secure that additional 60 vehicles each month, all while maintaining the current pricing that I had stated previously of $220 and $250 each vehicle, depending on the vehicle. Revenue and operating expenses are also projected to increase by 3% annually. That is another revenue assumption. Operating cost assumptions include that labor costs are based on our existing compensation model. So as I previously stated, we currently do employ around a 5-person work crew for that first fully operating unit. But rather than hiring W-2 hourly employees, we currently use 1099 independent contractors who are paid a percentage of each completed job. Because this compensation model is already established, a second 5-person independent contractor crew can be hired immediately to operate the new mobile wash unit without creating permanent payroll expenses. This allows us to increase labor costs only as revenue is increasing while providing flexibility as the business expands. Financial assumptions, we did use the straight line depreciation, a 10% discount rate, and a 21% tax rate assumption for purposes of the capital budgeting analysis. And then just general project assumptions include the 3-year analysis period and the initial working capital investment of $5,000. So using the projected cash flows, I evaluated the project using net present value and the internal rate of return. So the project requires an initial investment of the $70,580, followed by the projected inflows shown on the slide here. So using a 10% discount rate, the project produces an NPV of approximately $140,000, meaning the expected cash inflows exceed the initial investment after considering the time value of money. The internal rate of return is approximately 140%, which is significantly higher than the required 10% return. The project is also expected to recover its initial investment in less than 1 year. As we can see here, the payback period is estimated to be 10.5 months. So given these results, I do recommend that the project be accepted because it is expected to generate strong financial returns while supporting the continued growth of the business. Next, I would like to explain why I selected the 10% discount rate. So since 1 and 2 Mobile Wash is privately owned, meaning we are not a publicly traded stock, it isn't necessarily possible for us to calculate a market-based weighted average cost of capital. So instead, I did select a 10% discount rate as a reasonable required rate of return for evaluating our small business expansion. This rate also accounts for the time value of money and the risks associated with expanding our business. Because the project's NPV is positive and the IRR is well above the required return, the analysis that I presented does indicate that our investment is relatively financially attractive. So now I will discuss how I would finance this project. So for purpose of this proposal, I would request 70,580 in funding from Dr. Cole to purchase and outfit the second mobile wash unit. Now, if the project were to be implemented in the real world, I would recommend financing it with a combination of commercial debt and owner equity rather than relying entirely on one source of funding. By using commercial debt, we would allow the business to preserve some cash while maintaining full ownership and control. And by contributing owner equity, we are demonstrating that we are committed to the project and at the same time reducing the overall amount that we must borrow. So, overall, I do believe this combination provides the best balance between financial risk, owner control, and the overall cost of capital. Now, like any investment, this project does have potential risks that should be considered. Among them are increased competition, equipment failure or downtime, and the oil field industry downturn. Now, in order to mitigate the risk of increased competition, we would seek to have all of our contracts written as written service contracts with these commercial fleet customers in order to ensure the work. And we would also just ensure that we are always providing reliable, high quality service. Now, as far as equipment failure or downtime, we would ideally mitigate that risk by just ensuring that we have parts on hand, that we are keeping up with our maintenance, and that we are just maintaining our equipment to ensure that we are maximizing our profits and our time washing. Now, as far as the downturn in the oil field industry, I do recognize that if an oil bust were to occur, companies would most likely cut our service just because it isn't necessarily a service that is needed. It's more of a service that is wanted. But in order to reduce this risk, ideally, we would want to diversify who we are servicing. So we would want to branch out into industries such as construction, transportation, agriculture, just to have a more diverse customer base. So overall, while these risks do exist, I do believe that each one can be effectively managed through careful planning and proactive business strategies. So that does conclude my presentation. I do want to thank you for your time and consideration. And I do appreciate the opportunity to present my proposal to you. I believe this investment will allow the business to increase its operational capacity and continue growing while maintaining the quality service our customers have grown to expect from us. So I'd be happy to answer any questions. If you have any for me, please just do let me know. And I hope you have a good day. Thank you.